Welcome to a first of a series of the CEO Africa Roundtable Sales Conversations, which are meant to be a source of relevant and significant insights to the policymakers, to the business, and all the rest of our stakeholders. And the sales conversations are aimed or targeted at discussing topical issues which are relevant to the business environment that we're operating in. And today with us, we have got Mr. Persistence Gwanyanya, who is one of the Monetary Policy Committee members, to discuss a pertinent and relevant issue, which is around the Monetary Policy Statement. Good evening, Persy, and welcome to the CEO's Conversations.
Thank you for having me on the conversation.
So to begin with, Persy, I think we would like to reflect or have a chat on a quick review of the just ending monetary policy statement, which was for the second half of 2024. What would be your reflection and your thoughts in terms of the dynamics? And because we believe the monetary policy statement is supposed to be there to bring stability when it comes to the financial sector as well as the overall macroeconomic environment, have you attained the objectives or the overall goal that you intend to attain by implementing or maybe by pronouncing the monetary policy statement?
Yeah, I can say the attainment of monetary policy targets is work in progress, and I am happy with the progress we have made so far, given the background we're coming from as an economy, having introduced a new currency in April 2024 and against a background of structural issues that have been historically affecting our economy. Now, with the new currency, I think the progress has been fairly good, save for the brief disruption, I think, between August and September, when stability sort of got out of rail. But that was immediately resolved, and we are back on track. Year end, which is normally the last quarter of the year, which is normally the most volatile, the last quarter and the first quarter of the year, but obviously reflecting the seasonal nature of our economy, it has been fairly stable. You want to agree with me that the economy was fairly stable. It was stable during that period. So monetary authorities, their main target is their main deliverable is stability. So as we achieved stability in the last 3 months of the year, we are confident from the developments on the ground that this stability will persist on account of the tight monetary policy stance, but also on account of the progress expected on the fiscal front in respect of driving the demand for the ZiG. So a combination of tight monetary policy stance and robust demand for our local currency is expected to contribute significantly to permanent stability. But we are also happy with the projections that are coming on the real sector economy to sustain this stability. The authorities are upbeat about the outlook. I was attending the World Bank conference today on Zimbabwe economy, and they are also very optimistic, even more optimistic than us, about the prospects of the economy, the real sector and monetary sector economy this year and beyond. This also gives us hope of a strong real sector economy that will support permanent stability in 2025 and beyond.
All right, thank you, Percy. As we reflect on the, remember, each policy, I think, is gauged or measured against the expected outcomes as well as the expected outputs. And I think when we are reflecting on the just ended monetary policy, there are a lot of questions and indications within the real business or the real business environment, where we are saying, I think the pledge by the central bank governor when he came and when he introduced the monetary policy statement was to bring stability as well as to restore confidence, as well as the issues of trust around our currency, around our financial markets. But when you look today, I think there still exists what I would call a permanent exchange rate premium, and our inflation figures have not been that stable, but I would say they were volatile. We are reviewing that policy. What would you say then are the attributes in terms of what we are seeing today? I think if you go today or read any newspaper today or any article, you hear of stories of businesses or retail shops that are either downsizing or that are either actually getting out of the market or shutting down. And the fears are that these are pinned around our macroeconomic policies. And one of such policies that is being attributed to where we are today are the monetary policy statements that we have. Your reaction or reflection on that?
I think, like I've indicated, achieving permanent stability is not a one-day job. I have attributed this to a long-term imperative that we are aiming to achieve, especially given the journey we traveled and including the experience of hyperinflation. It's not easy to deal permanently with the issue of stability in the economy, which has become largely structural. But I get the confidence of a better future, a more stable economy from especially the currency that we introduced, the ZIG, and how it is structured. Two issues are quite important, which gives me the hope of a better economy going forward, being that the way it is structured is in such a way that it will be able to address two things which are key for permanent stability. That is convertibility of a currency, which will take care of the issues relating to the foreign payments, etc. Then the other issue is to do with the store value function of a currency, but which also drives on how well it performs in terms of convertibility. So on convertibility of the currency, owing to its structure being that it's always going to be covered by the reserves, foreign reserves, in form of the foreign currency and precious minerals. That means that at any given time, that will guarantee some convertibility of currency. And if convertibility of currency is guaranteed, this is important to create some track record and credibility in our currency. This currency has been battered, and you may want to agree with me that the question of the trust of a currency, question of the confidence of a currency has to be boosted, which is what you expressed as you opened up the discussions. So we expect that to build some measure of credibility and track record into of the new currency. right? And just from the way it is structured, which is different from the previous currency, which could not guarantee convertibility. But in this case, I think convertibility is guaranteed. But also going forward, we think that if that is done, the store value function of the currency is also very important. But we see that as coming from the demand for that currency. So if there is a robust demand for the local currency, especially from government, and the government is since committed to driving that demand, though it may not happen overnight, it may take time. It's an issue of sequencing and prioritizing, but that's what the commitment we get from government. It means that we would be able to create a currency that can offer viable alternative to the US dollar as a store of value. In that all currencies, there's not a single currency in this world that is a viable alternative to the US, or that can compete with the US dollar, or that can offer a better option, store value option than the US dollar. But the operation of law assists currencies to offer value preservation aspects required of a more functional currency. But in our case, this is not available. So you want the government to underwrite, to kick in by underwriting that currency, by supporting that currency through driving its demand, that is taxes, duties, and other statutory payments. So we think a combination of those two would produce a more durable stability on our currency. This is what gives me confidence, despite what happens during the way. You know, it can never be a perfect journey, but we are more happy with the structures we see on the ground and how the potential of those structures to deliver. But stability that we want is not without consequences. We must be able to accept some measure of trade-off. Stability comes with some trade-off. So at some point, we as an economy would be asked to downsize. You've already identified the need to downsize, but not only downsize, but right size to the new reality. We want stability, but we know that stability comes from a tight monetary policy stance. But this tight monetary policy stance is not without ramifications. So you may start to see some corporate stress, as we have started to see, is some corporates are required to shed some excess baggages, and some corporates are required to adjust, to become more efficient, to become more agile to the realities, to the new realities on the ground. So this is expected. But we also don't want to spin the market out of control, but ideally this is expected. So we can say these could be consequences of stability. But obviously I think your concern is this stability and adjustments have to be balanced. We must achieve stability without necessarily upsetting the market.
So, listening to you are highlighting the state where we are today, where we are talking of companies or firms or businesses closing, and they are referring or linking that to the issues of stability. And I think the question of stability, I know it would also then ask, or maybe go to the question to ask the harmonization between the monetary policy statement and the fiscal policy statement. But before we go there, I would like to know, because I think this has been for a long time where business have been listening to the a story of stabilization or pain that comes with stabilization. However, my quick question is, now we are planning for a new monetary policy statement, which we believe is going to be announced soon. How has been the consultation process? What has been coming out of this consultation process? And I think there's a huge debate out there whether we should keep the ZiG, the local currency, in place. I think for a long time I agree to the fact that there's been that call where we are saying if we want to create a lifespan for the ZiG or for the local currency, then government being the number one consumer of the currency should then create demand for it by ensuring that they embrace it for taxes or any other sort of requirements, which is what we agree on. But this is on paper, or this is on talking, but we intend to see, or we hope to see, this happening in reality or in practical sense. That's number one, and I agree on that. But we are saying these are issues that have been discussed for a long time. What are the issues that are coming through your consultation processes? We are talking of an economy where it's estimated that over 90% of the transactions are now in USD or in USD terms, or maybe in foreign currency terms, and maybe the 10% relates to the ZiG component. I want to hear from you. What's the sentiment in terms of the local currency lifespan and going into the future, before we talk about the expectations of the upcoming monetary policy statement?
Yeah, I'm sure you have been consulted by the central bank as the CEO roundtable. So are all other representative bodies. So I'm quite happy with the consultations that happened between the central bank and representative bodies from the broader economy. You are very right to say that issue of stability seems to be coming out from everyone, and the question of the appropriateness of ZiG as a currency is also coming out. But let me assure you that it's very normal that given the volatilities, especially the recent volatilities in September and October, it's very normal to expect the market to start to look at an alternative to the ZiG. But at all times, we should resist the temptation of easier options where difficult ones are available. So ZiG is seen as a difficult option, but in my view, is the most effective to come out of our challenges permanently. Unsurprisingly, all economies in the world, they use their currency. It's not by accident that economies in the world use their currencies. It's by purpose. One currency delivers than currencies of other countries. We are in the space we are, that is the multiple currency regime, because of what we underwent, and we are trying to cure our past. Hence the preference of a multiple currency regime, but the best would be your own currency. Yes, we understand that the local currency and foreign currency cannot sustainably co-circulate without significant support of the local currency. We understand your concerns that government must then be seen to be taking an active interest in supporting its currency. Yeah, but you must also agree with me that the government is outside currency. They also have other deliverables in the economy to be taken care of. they are supposed to be rebuilding the economy's infrastructure and a lot of other deliverables. So they are competing needs. And to suggest that they should drop everything they are doing to look at the requirements of a currency will not be very fair on the government. But prioritization is what we see coming out of Treasury to say we are going to prioritize the demand for our currency. But this has to be done in a way that may not result in unintended consequences elsewhere. So the government already has other projects that requires foreign currency at different stages. So it has to properly sequence the drive for the demand for our own currency. So that is well understood. I think we share the same sentiments, the monetary and the fiscal authorities, of the need to drive the demand for the local currency.
So maybe as we are to wrap it up, and as you're touching on the expected harmonization, because I think when you are responding to the question I raised, it goes back to the issues of fundamentals that need to be in place, either for a currency or for a policy to be effective. I would like you maybe to close this session, because I know definitely we have a series of these discussions as we aim to improve the business environment as well as the overall macroeconomic performance of our economy. I would like to, there's a growing sentiment, Mr. Gwanyanya, where we are saying we are moving towards a position where we are rendering our macroeconomic policies, the fiscal policy, the monetary policy statements, ineffective. Why are we talking about this? There are some figures which are being thrown around, where we are talking about 70% informalization, 30% being the formal sector, 90% of transactions. And some of these transactions that we're talking about in USD terms, the greater part of it is now being done as in hard currency, and we are talking of informal ways of then safeguarding this. I think we've heard of some safe boxes and others coming into play. As we go towards a presentation or pronouncement of a monetary policy statement that will guide the businesses or the economy going into 2025, what are the issues to expect? And do we expect anything different that will then help us maybe build our anticipation in terms of addressing our current challenges that the business as well as the overall economy is facing?
Yeah, I think the indication on the ground is authorities are seized with the levels of informalization, and where we trending as an economy is quite concerning. Unsurprisingly, yesterday, I think the president had a meeting with the industry players, including different ministries and our treasury, and they agreed on measures to deal with the informalization, rising informalization in the economy. And I think the Minister of Finance has already circulated those measures to the market. That is on the fiscal front. But obviously, on the monetary front, there are also measures that we're expecting from the monetary policy to deal with the informalization of the economy. It's a menace at the moment, this informalization of the economy. But you may want to agree with me that it is beyond even economics and finance. So the task of dealing with informalization.
Just to cut you short, because what I want you particularly to address in this regard is, we know the macroeconomic policies, either the fiscal policy or the monetary policy, their pronouncement or maybe their existence is to bring that stability into the economy. And the major question is, okay, these policies are coming into place, but are they going to address 30% of the economy? Or that's where the whole jinx ends. Once you talk of 30% of the economy being addressed and the 70% is not also addressed, then it becomes a question where we are saying that might somehow render these policies ineffective, because they will not be of much impact to the overall economic performance.
Yeah, but the reality is the economy is now largely informalized, and policies should also be crafted to impact the informal sector. But this cannot only be left to the monetary and fiscal authorities. Everyone and all facets of government should also be directed towards dealing with this adversary of informalization. So we don't expect the monetary authorities to do what is outside their realm. We expect them to do what is within their parameters. But now that this issue has received the attention of the executive, it only tells you that it's an issue that is taking the whole government approach, that all facets of government are now being activated to address the issue of informalization. Clearly, the potence of policy is diluted by the level of informalization in the economy. It's quite concerning. But what is important as we go into the monetary policy space is we should be able to identify our role in the informalization, our contribution in the informalization of the economy, and if need be, adjust. So this speaks to the issue of bank charges. This speaks to the issue of the ease of doing business in the economy. How easily is it for the ordinary person to access the banking facilities and to be able to be using the banking facilities, and all other issues that we think are necessary to incentivize formal participation in the formal financial service sector. The fiscal authorities are also expected to identify their role in the informalization of the economy. This speaks to the taxation regime. Are we pitching at the right level in respect of taxes? If we are not, then there may be need for the fiscal regime to be revisited. Are we coaching our tax regime to reflect the realities that the economy is largely informal, and coming up with appropriate taxes to impact the economy, which is largely informal?
All right. Thank you, Komapesi. I think this is a broad issue, number one. Number two, this is we are discussing issues which are at the core of any business, at the core of any individual that is living within the space of Zim. And now we are talking of the coordination of different stakeholders. And I think we can shelve this one for our next CEOART conversations. Remember, we said at the beginning, these are a series of conversations where we try to bring as the roundtable issues that are pertinent to the performance of businesses, to the survival of our citizens or individuals which are within the Zimbabwean economy, and largely to the overall performance of our economy. So thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to having you again in our future the CEOART conversations, where we are aiming to always continue to discuss topical issues which we believe will always help our members or different stakeholders to come up with informed strategies which are based on real and relevant insights. This being our first CEOART conversation, and looking on the issues to do with the monetary policy statement and our the outlook of our economy going into 2025. This is more of a build-up to our first executive breakfast, which is scheduled for 13 February at Rainbow Towers. And the issues that we are to continue to discuss during this executive breakfast are to do with the outlook, as well as the outlook, business outlook, as well as the economic outlook going to 2025. And we look forward to having our members as well as other key stakeholders in the economy to further discuss these issues as we bring a panel of ministers as well as a panel of experts to delve into these issues and try to see whether we can come up with insightful strategies that will help the business or salvage our business going into the future. Thank you.
Okay.